Why, hello, everyone, and welcome. Oh, no, I'm still waiting for Facebook. It's probably already live, just not letting me know. Well, anyway, welcome to story time. Yes, there we are. Welcome to Story Time. We are live on both Facebook and YouTube. Story Time is early tonight. It's a very early showing tonight. It's only about 7:45, usually 10 p.m. Or later. But tonight, 7:45. I want to get to bed earlier tonight because I have, I'm serving at the church in the morning, and I want to be there nice and early for that. So anyway, early story time, 7:45. Ooh, look at that. Already 2 people viewing on YouTube. Goodness gracious, why is my computer being so slow? Hello, Alex! Huzzah! Glad you're here. But anyway, today we're reading Russian fairy tales. Like I said, nice and early. Nothing wrong with that. First things first. Oh, no, we've lost a viewer on YouTube. Oh, well. First things first. Join the Facebook group Storytime if you haven't already. Like this video on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't. Yes, back up to 2 viewers on YouTube. Beepercorny1 is my channel. And if you would so please, then you can also join my my Twitch. Brett Doesn't Game, all one word. Hello there, Amber. Glad you have joined. Huzzah! Thank you, everyone. It was me. I had to send a text. Oh, that makes sense. That makes complete and total sense. Anyway. Yes, we're going to read some Russian fairy tales, and I might read you one short story of my own as well. So, shall we? Let's. This one is called The Snotty Goat. How long is this one? Oh, it looks like it could be... Oh, okay, it's not bad. Oh, that one. Oh, that one's very long. So, we will read 2 Russian fairy tales and one of my own, and possibly another Russian after that. Shows up in the morning, and they are keeping me updated. Oh, very good. Very good, Amber. Glad to hear it. In the meantime, if you would like a shout out, make sure you comment. And like I said, don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe if you haven't already. So, moving onward, this story is called The Snotty Goat. In a certain kingdom, in a certain land, there lived a merchant who had 3 daughters. He built himself a new house and sent his eldest daughter to spend the night there. In the morning, he asked her what she had seen in her dream. She had dreamed that she would marry a merchant's son. On the second night, the merchant sent his second daughter, and she dreamed that she would marry a nobleman. The third night, it was the youngest daughter's turn, and she, poor little thing, dreamt she would marry a goat. Her father was frightened and forbade his youngest daughter to go out even on the porch. But one day she disobeyed and did go out, and the goat seized her on his tall horns and carried her away beyond the steep mountains. He brought her to his house and put her to sleep on the shelf above the stove. Snot ran down his nose, slobber ran down his mouth, and the unfortunate girl never stopped wiping him with a handkerchief, for she was not a bit squeamish. The goat was pleased. He combed his beard in his pleasure. Thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. Next morning, our beauty arose and saw that the yard was enclosed with a picket fence, and that there was a maiden's head on every picket. Only one picket was empty. The poor girl rejoiced at having escaped death. Then the servants began to hurry her, saying, "Madam, this is no time to sleep. This is the time to bestir yourself. Sweep the rooms and carry the garbage out into the street." She went to the porch and saw geese flying. "Ah, geese, my grey geese, do you not come from my land? Do you not bring me news of my own little father?" And the geese answered her, "We do come from your land, and we have brought you news. There is a betrothal in your house. Your eldest sister is being married to a merchant's son." The goat on his shelf heard everything and said to his servants, "Hey, you, my faithful servants, bring out the splendid garments, harness the black steeds, let them jump thrice and go where I desire to be." The poor girl dressed herself richly and got into the carriage. The steeds brought her to her father's house in a trice. The guests were being welcomed on the porch, and in the house a magnificent feast was set out. Meanwhile, the goat turned into a handsome youth and walked into the yard playing his gusler. One could hardly avoid inviting a gusler player to sit down at one's table. He arose and began to sing, "Wife of the goat, wife of the snot-nose, wife of the goat, wife of the snot-nose." The unhappy girl slapped him on one cheek, slapped him on the other, jumped into a carriage, and was gone. Gonzo, I tell you, gone. She returned home and found the goat lying on the shelf. Snot ran down his nose, slobber ran down his mouth. The poor girl wiped him with a handkerchief without ceasing. She was not a bit squeamish. Next morning the servants roused her. "Madam, this is no time to sleep. This is the time to rise, sweep the rooms, and carry the garbage out into the street." So carry that damn goat, if you ask me. She rose, set the rooms in order, and went to the porch, and she saw geese flying. "Ah, geese, my grey geese, do you not come from my land? Do you not bring me news of my own little father?" And the geese answered her, "We do come from your land, and we have brought you news. There is a betrothal in your house. Your second sister is being married to a wealthy nobleman." Again the poor girl drove to her father's house. On the porch the guests were being welcomed. In the house a magnificent feast was set out. Meanwhile the goat turned into a handsome youth and walked into the yard, playing his gusler. He came in and began to sing, "Wife of the goat, wife of the snot-nose, wife of the goat, wife of the snot-nose." The unhappy girl slapped him on one cheek, slapped him on the other, jumped into a carriage, and was gone. Good riddance. She returned home and found the goat lying on the shelf. Snot ran down his nose, slobber ran down his mouth. Another night passed. In the morning the poor girl rose and went to the porch. Again geese were flying. "Ah, geese, my grey geese, do you not come from my land? Do you not bring me news of my own little father?" And the geese answered her, "We do come from your land, and we have brought you news. Your father is giving a dinner." She drove to her father's house. The guests were being welcomed on the porch, and in the house a magnificent feast was set out. In the yard the gusler player was walking about and strumming on his gusler. He was asked to come in and again began to sing, "Wife of the goat, wife of the snot-nose." The poor girl slapped him on one cheek, slapped him on the other, and drove home in a trice. She looked on the shelf and found only a goat's skin. The gusler player had not yet had time to turn into a goat. She flung the goatskin into the stove, and the merchant's youngest daughter found herself married not to a goat but to a handsome youth, and they began to live happily and prosperously. That was interesting. I don't get it. I really don't. Don't know the moral of that story. Perhaps you do. There's something beautiful inside everyone. I'm going to go with that. Even an old snot-nosed goat can really be a young, beautiful person. I'm stretching here, but maybe I'm right. Who knows? Moving on to the next story. Right and wrong. Once there were two peasants, both of them very poor. One lived by means of all kinds of lies and deceit. He swindled and stole, but the other followed the path of truth and honest labor. These two peasants had a dispute over the manner of living each had chosen. One said, "It is better to live by wrong," and the other said, "You cannot live by wrong all your life. It is better to live by right." They quarreled and quarreled, but neither could convince the other. They went out to the road and agreed to ask the first three people whom they should meet to settle their dispute. So they walked and finally saw a serf ploughing a field. They approached him and said, "Godspeed, you friend. Please settle our quarrel. How is it better to live in the world, by right or by wrong? Brothers, you cannot live by right. It is easier to live by wrong. Take my case, for instance. Our masters constantly take our days away, and we have no time to work for ourselves. But if you pretend that you cannot come because you are ill, you can manage to go get some wood for yourself, if not during the day, since it is forbidden, at least by night. Do you hear? I am right," said the wicked peasant to the righteous one. Again they walked along the road, waiting to see what the next person whom they should meet would say. They walked, and at last saw a merchant in a carriage driving a pair of horses. They approached him and said, "Please stop a moment. If your grace does not take it, miss, we should like to ask you something. Settle our quarrel. How is it better to live in the world, by right or by wrong?" "No, my boys, it is hard to live by right. It is easier to live by wrong. We are cheated, and we must cheat others too." "Do you hear? I am right," said the wicked peasant again to the righteous one. So they walked farther along the road, waiting to see what the third person would tell them. They walked till they saw a clerk driving toward them. They approached him and said, "Stop a moment." "I am tired." "Stop a moment. Settle our quarrel. How is it better to live in the world, by right or by wrong? What a question to ask! By wrong, of course. What right is there nowadays? For doing right, you are sent to Siberia, accused of scheming. Do you hear me? Said the wicked peasant to the righteous one. Everyone says it's better to live by wrong. No one must live in God's way, as God has commanded us. Come what may, I will not live by wrong. No, one must live in God's way. Sorry, I read that a little wrong. The righteous man answered the other. Oh, tired. Again they walked on the road together. They walked and walked. The wicked man managed to get along everywhere. He got all the food he needed. He even got cakes. But the righteous man was fed only when he worked for his keep. And the wicked man continually made fun of him. Once the righteous man begged the wicked one for a piece of bread. Please, give me a piece of bread. Ugh. And what will you give me in return? Asked the wicked one. Take whatever you wish, whatever I have, said the righteous man. Shall I gouge out one of your eyes? Go ahead, gouge it out, said the righteous man. And so the wicked man gouged out an eye of the righteous man and gave him a bit of bread. That's a shitty trade. The righteous man did not protest. He took the bread, ate it, and again they walked along the road. They walked, and again the righteous man began to beg the wicked one for a piece of bread. Again the wicked one began to make fun of him. Let me gouge out your other eye, and then I'll give you a piece. Ah, brother, have pity on me. If you do that, I shall be blind, the righteous man implored him. No, it's because you are righteous and I live by wrong, the wicked man told him. There was nothing to be done, so the righteous man said to the wicked man, Well, gouge out my other eye, if you do not fear to commit such a sin. The wicked one gouged out his other eye, gave him a little bread, and left him on the road, saying, You cannot expect me to guide you. What should he do now? The blind man ate his little piece of bread and went on slowly, groping with his stick. He walked till he got off the road and did not know where to go. Then he prayed to God, Lord, do not forsake my sinful servant. He prayed and prayed. Then he heard a voice saying, Go to the right. On the right you will find a wood. When you come to the wood, grope for the path. When you find the path, walk along it. Somewhere along the path you will come to a spring. When you come to the spring, wash yourself with the water from it, drink it, and wet your eyes with it. Then you will recover your sight. Then go upstream along the spring, and you will see a big oak. When you find the oak, go to it and climb up into it. There awaits the night, and when night comes, listen to what the evil spirits say under this oak, for there they gather, trying to discuss their affairs. Tired, viewers, tired. He somehow managed to reach the wood. When he reached the wood, he stumbled and plodded through it, and somehow managed to find the path. He walked along this path till he reached the spring. He washed himself with water from the spring, drank some water, and wetted his eyes, and he saw God's world, for he had recovered his sight. And when he recovered his sight, he walked upstream along the spring. He walked, and at last saw a big oak, under which the ground was trampled flat. He climbed up into this oak and awaited the night. Then devils came from all directions and assembled under the oak. They came, and each began to tell where he had been taken. One of them said, I was with such and such a princess. I have been tormenting her for 10 years. There's an illustration here, readers/listeners, and there it is. Looks a little bit like a gingerbread house. They have tried to drive me out of her in every possible way, but in vain. Only he can drive me out who goes to such and such a wealthy merchant and gets from him the image of the Smolensk Mother of God that is nailed to his gate. Next morning, when all the devils had dispersed, our righteous man climbed down from the oak. He went to search for the merchant the devil had named, but he searched and searched for him till at last he found him. Goodness gracious. Then he asked the merchant whether he could work for him. I will work for you a whole year, and all I want for wages is the image of the Mother of God on your gate. The merchant consented and hired him as a laborer. Oh, I am tired, readers. And so he worked for the merchant with all his strength for a whole year round. I'm going to get a sip of this, you know. It's nice. It's mango brandy. And so he worked for the merchant with all his strength for a whole year round. That gave me some energy. Having thus worked, he asked for the image. However, the merchant said, "Well, brother, I am satisfied with your work, but I do not wish to lose that image. Take money instead." "No, I do not need money. Give me the image as we agreed." "No, I will not give you the image. Work for me another year, then I will give it to you." So it came to pass that our righteous peasants worked hard for another year. He did not rest by the night or day. He worked all the time, so diligent was he. Having thus worked, he again asked for the image of the Mother of God on the gate. The merchant again was loath to give him the image and release him, and said, "No, I would rather reward you with money. Unless you want to work for another year, then I will give you the image." There was nothing the peasant could do, so he began to work for a third year. He worked even harder than before. Everyone marveled at him. He was such a hard worker. Having thus worked a third year, he asked for the image. The merchant now had no choice but to take the image from the gate and give it to him. "Well, take the image," he said, "and God speed you." He gave him food and drink and rewarded him with a small sum of money. And so it came to pass that he took the image of the Smolensk Mother of God and hung it on himself. Then he went to the king of that country to cure the princess who was tormented by a devil. He walked and walked till he came to the palace. He said to the king, "I can cure your princess." And so he was admitted to the king's private chambers and shown the suffering princess. He asked for water, and water was given him. He made the sign of the cross and bowed 3 times to the ground and prayed to God. Having prayed, he removed the image of the Mother of God from his body, and with a prayer on his lips, immersed it in the water 3 times, and then put it on the water. No. Yes, and then put it on the princess. Having put it on her, he told her to wash in the same water. And when she put the image on her and washed in that water, suddenly her disease, that is, the evil spirit, flew out of her. And when he flew out, she was as whole as before. Seeing this, all the company rejoiced mightily and did not know how to reward the righteous peasant. Ugh. They offered him land, a hereditary estate, and a large pension, but he would not accept anything. Then the princess said to the king, I want to marry this man." "Very well," said the king, and so they wedded, and our peasant began to wear royal garments, live in the royal apartments, and eat and drink just like the rest of the king's family. He lived like this for a long while, and became accustomed to their manners and way of life. Sorry, my eyes keep unfocusing. And having become accustomed to them, he said, "Let me go to my native village. There I may have my old mother, who is very poor." "Very well," said the princess, that is to say, his wife. "Let us go together." So he and the princess went together. Their horses, clothes, trappings, carriage, everything were royal. They drove and finally approached the peasant's native village. On the road, they happened to meet the wicked man who had quarreled with him as to whether it is better to live by wrong or by right. As the carriage approached this fellow, the righteous man said, "Good day, brother," and called him by his name. The man was amazed that the magnificent nobleman in the carriage, whom he had never seen, should know him. Oh, my head. I'm so tired. I could probably use a 10-minute nap or so. And yes, Alex, I am reading them in Russian, so sorry. Yeah, so moving onward, are we? We're continuing with the story? Yes? Okay, fine. I guess we will. Where was I? Oh, yes. As the carriage approached this fellow, the righteous man said, "Good day, brother," and called him by his name. The man was amazed that the magnificent nobleman in the carriage, whom he had never seen, should know him. "Really? Do you recall," the stranger said, "that we once had a dispute as to whether it is better to live by wrong or by right, and you gouged out my eyes? I am that same man." The other was afraid and did not know what to do, but the righteous man said to him, "No, do not be afraid. I am not angry at you. I wish you the same good fortune. Go to such and such a wood," and he proceeded. Go to such and such a wood. Where was I? And he proceeded to instruct him just as he himself had been instructed by God. In fact, in that wood you will see a path. Go along that path. You will reach a spring, drink water from it, and wash. And after you have washed, go upstream along the spring, and you will see a big oak. Climb up on it and sit there all night. Under it evil spirits gather. Listen, and you will hear your fate. Oof, tired. The wicked man followed these instructions to the letter. He found the wood and the path. He went along the path and came to the spring, drank of it, and washed. Having washed, he went upstream and saw the big oak and the ground all trampled flat under it. He climbed up into the oak and waited the night, and then he heard evil spirits coming from all directions to gather there. When they had gathered, they heard him breathing in the oak, and having heard him, they tore him to shreds. And so this affair was concluded. The righteous man became the king's son-in-law, and the inquisitive one was put to death by the devils. Oh, goodness gracious, I'm so tired. That's what I'm reading of the Russian fairy tales, because I don't know if I can read more right now. I'm really, really tired. I will read a piece of a story of mine. And I actually read a piece of this a few weeks ago. It's that big story, Dark Wolves, I wrote. And I read a chapter called Die, You Son of a Bitch. And it was about the world's most unlucky assassin. This one is called A Dead Man. I'm tired. I've been chasing the same guy for 7 straight years, and it feels like I'm running to win the Indy 500. It's never cut out for this race. I'm going to change voices for this. I'm tired. I've been chasing the same guy for 7 straight years, and I feel like I'm running to win the Indy 500. I was never cut out for this race. Nearby police lights flash and flicker red. The boys in blue are silent, but the collective gaze speaks the million-man chatter of an army on shore leave. This army just so happened to receive word that their most trusted general sold their home addresses to a terrorist for a pack of gum. They glance at me every chance they get, all the while hoping I won't stare back. When someone you know has done something wrong, you find it hard to think of them as the bad guy, but justifying a dirty deed is a struggle on the best of days. I always thought I was better than the criminals shitting in the streets. Go figure. Blood isn't any more appealing than manure. From the driver's seat, I can see the object of my affliction. Its eyes burn holes in the pavement at point-blank range. The body in the street is about 15 feet away from the open door of my 1977 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. I light my match, give it a flick in the general direction of Mr. Thornhill. His non-corporeal self flinches in distaste. For fuck's sake, Tracy, this is a crime scene. Fuck off. I strike another match on my boot. My way out of this predicament is about as clear as the smoke of my cigar. I swear to God, Trace, if you toss that match at the body... Relax, I say. I take a puff of the Churchill before I blow out the match. Gifford is a recent transfer from Providence, no friend of mine. He doesn't reserve his judgment like the others. At least they offer a cautious smile when I look. At least they wait until I turn away to let the smile become a wary frown. Gifford's by the book, though, through and through. He's always been a Boy Scout. He's a cliche, not that I'm any better. Chief here yet? He's on the way, just sit tight. Concern. I wasn't expecting him to evoke that emotion. 10 minutes past, 20, I'm puffing my cigar a lot quicker than I should. And I don't have a spare. Whew. Just a nub left by the time Chief pulls up. I suck down the last bit of darkness the night has to offer before squashing it under my boot. Whew. Dozing off there. Black slacks meet a brown belt and shoes to match. His white dress shirt looks like he pulled it straight out of the dryer without time to iron it. No time to iron, but damn, is his tie perfect. The suit jacket, on the other hand, is old. The only part of the outfit that doesn't quite fit. What do we got, Trace? Why do I got guys calling me at this house saying you killed Gino? Because I killed Gino. I can see that. Why did you kill Gino? And why couldn't you wait until morning? It had been a busy week for the chief. A high school drug ring with ties to the cartel. I know how the fuck does a high school get tied directly to the cartel. Had just been shut down after several years of investigations, stings, etc. The sheer weight of paper working its way across every desk was baffling. Seemed as good a time as any. And there goes his composure. Don't get smart with me, Tracy. I'm not in the mood. God fucking damn it. Palms on temples. If the chief's head didn't already look like he had just jumped out of bed. Where's this coming from? We're not murderers. We don't do that. One hand moves to the gesture at the body. The other takes steady hold of my car door. What happened? He killed my CI. And that, dear readers, / listeners, / viewers, hello, Mr. Green. Hello, how are you? Huzzah! Glad you're here. Talk about being torn. What do you mean? And thank you, Amber, for the nice accent comment. Anyway, that was the end of that story. And, I know it's cutting it a bit short tonight, but I really am tired. And I have a few things I need to get done tonight before waking up early tomorrow. So I think I'm going to call it a night. Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad you liked the accent. Last Russian fairy tale. Man who met his fate. Oh, yes, very good, Mr. Green. I like it. I like it very much. That's good. I like it. Anyway. Yeah, well, and I've gotten fewer sleep than that in nights prior, probably, but that's okay. So I'm probably going to take like a 15-minute nap and then take care of what needs to get taken care of and get to bed nice and early tonight if I can. So, sorry it's a bit short of a story time, but we got a couple of fairy tales and we got an original story piece. So don't forget, join Story Time on Facebook, like this video, subscribe, comment for your shout-outs, beep corny1, and share it with your friends. Find me on Twitch, Brett Doesn't Game. I found another streaming service that may work for it. So I may be on all three again soon. So yeah, thank you. I will try to get that sleep. It would be very nice and very well appreciated on my part. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. Glad you are here. And let's see, tomorrow is Sunday. I do believe tomorrow's story time should be on time. I'm pretty sure it should be. Yes. I don't see a reason why not. So, good night. I bid you adieu. And until next time, tomorrow, when we read more Russian fairy tales and another piece of original story. Toodaloo.